In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about trust in your smart home and why I can't trust mine. Make sure you stick around, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button below and keep an eye out for more videos. Hi, I'm Will from Surridge Tech, and today we're going to be talking about trust. Specifically, trust in your smart home, and why I can't trust my smart home as much as I'd love to. We're going to define trust and then dive deep into my trust issues, I suppose. So let's get going. So, what do I mean by trust? Well, according to Google, trust is a firm belief in the reliability, truth, or ability of someone or something. And we're going to look at each of those key points and how I feel about it. But before we do that, I'm going to quickly explain some of the key parts of my smart home setup, so we can see where my trust issues sit, I suppose. So the bulk of my smart home is running and set up as individual entities. And by that, I mean, I set it up through the app of the device that it comes with, and it still sits there and I could still use that app. But then I also have a number of these devices integrated into Echo devices. I've got Echo devices in every room, so I can control my smart home through a voice assistant. And obviously a number of my compatible devices I've got in that. But then every device of mine is integrated into Home Assistant, which I have running on a Raspberry Pi. As for the kit, I've got Hue, I've got Sonos, as the kind of main brands in every room. I've got some WLED stuff, I've got some tech-in smart plugs, I've got a selection of Zigbee sensors from different brands, Reolink and Amcrest cameras, Sonos gear around the place, and many more, really. So the first part of the definition is firm belief. Trust is firm belief. And I want to have this. Believe me, I really want to have firm belief, but I just can't believe in my smart home. And the main lack of belief is because of Home Assistant. And I know this is probably really old-fashioned of me, but I struggle to believe in something that I've downloaded and installed on a Raspberry Pi. Yeah, I know that's bad. But if something comes like a Hue Hub, comes packaged, ready to go, you plug it in and it works and it links up, I believe in it. And I would expect to believe in it and I would expect it to work. But Home Assistant, I almost don't expect to work, which is obviously a belief issue, I suppose. The rest of my lack of belief is somewhat convoluted. It's because I don't believe in it because I do believe in it so much. I believe that Home Assistant is the way forward with smart homes. You know, having one place to control everything is sensible. In fact, it's a no-brainer and everyone should be doing it. And I believe that Home Assistant can do anything and can do everything. And it's because I believe it can do anything that I sort of don't believe it exists. And I don't believe that it can do everything together at the same time, you know? So that kind of causes an issue of belief, I suppose, in me and in Home Assistant, which is a shame because the rest of my smart home devices I believe in. Like, I believe that my Hue lights will always be available in the Hue app. I believe that my Sonos speakers will always be available in the Sonos app. But I don't believe that Home Assistant will always be available in the Home Assistant app. Next is reliability. Now, this is obviously quite a big point, especially with the likes of Home Assistant, because it's just not. And I hate to say that because it is incredible and I fully believe in it and I use it and I will continue to use it, but it's just not reliable. Like, my Hue lights will always be available in the Hue app, but Home Assistant dies, Home Assistant crashes, Home Assistant fails, bad things happen. And that's reliability, really. I've had a number of problems with Home Assistant over the last year and a bit 2 years since I've had it. And yes, a lot of that is my own fault, but that's arguably a problem in itself. I am being able to do so much that I can break it so easily, which is a problem. Whereas like with Hue, you can't break it because you can't really do much. Weigh the balances, I suppose, pros and cons and all that. but it's not reliable. I've had SD cards die. I've had the Pi just being unavailable and not being able to access it. I'm currently going through an issue where my Hue devices are absolutely fine, and my Sonos devices, absolutely fine in their respective apps. But as soon as you go into Home Assistant, they're unavailable, despite being able to like ping them from Home Assistant and all of that sort of thing. If anyone has any hints, let me know. But it's not reliable. And that causes obviously big trust problems. The next point is truth. Now, truth is something that I can't slate Home Assistant for at all. And I won't, because it's very honest, it's open source, it's very accessible, you know exactly what's happening, it's all local, it's all secure, etc., etc. Like even the analytics of them wanting to know how many Home Assistant users there are out there is opt-in, and it's all open and available for everyone to make sure they're not, collecting data and all that. And I love Home Assistant for that. So my truth concerns come with the likes of Amazon and their devices that I have around my house. And again, I'm not going to stop using them because part of me doesn't really care. Like in my mind, Amazon, Facebook, Google, they all have all of my data, all of my information anyway. I know there are plenty of people out there who are very privacy and security conscious, but to be honest, I don't have anything to hide. So I don't really care. And to me, the benefits outweigh the risks. But truth is an issue for a lot of people. And that is where the likes of Amazon and Google will, take over the world and all that, because they have the data and they can. That is a trust issue with smart homes in general. It's not one I'm particularly concerned about because I have nothing to hide, but I also don't trust Amazon to keep my data safe and secure. Anyway, the next part is ability. And this kind of ties back in to some of the other points I've made. I feel like this is just a slating Home Assistant video. That's not what it's meant to be. I fully believe that Home Assistant can do whatever I want it to do. But I also just don't. I don't trust its ability. And that's probably not Home Assistant itself. That's probably my ability to manage Home Assistant because I break it constantly. And there are little things like sometimes, so I've got an alarm going on in Home Assistant. Watch the video up there if you want to see how to make that. And most of the time it is great. I've got my music, I've got my heating, I've got notifications, I've got lights coming on. It's a fantastic alarm. It wakes me up perfectly, apart from when it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, bad things happen and I have a bad day. And it often doesn't work for multiple reasons. Sometimes it doesn't work because my router is being upgraded overnight by my ISP and that somehow knocks everything out. Not sure what that is. Sometimes it doesn't work it used to not work a bit because Home Assistant would disappear in the middle of the night. And then when it came back on, my alarm was switched off. Obviously, that's a simple setting to change, but until you know it's a simple setting to change, until you know that you need to, you don't. So that was a problem. And now, my lights and my speakers aren't linked into Home Assistant and working, so they don't do their thing in the morning. So the ability just isn't there. And it's almost like I've got too many eggs in one basket, in reality. I know that my Amazon alarm clock, because I have one of them kind of as a backup, will go off at 7 o'clock every morning because I've set it to repeat and do that. And that's great. And I know I can rely on it. And I know it has that ability. But Home Assistant just doesn't have the ability to provide me with the confidence to rely on it without those other things. Like, if I didn't have my Alexa alarm, I wouldn't be waking up. And it's also external factors. Like, because I've got Amazon, because I've got Honeywell, which is a cloud-based situation as well, like Honeywell will always go down. I don't know what it is. And the worst thing is I get an email notification from Honeywell saying it's come back online. Not that it went down, but that it's come back. I'm like, that's great, but I also want to know when it's gone, so I know how long it's out for, So when I go to turn the heating on, I know it won't work. So yeah, I can't trust the ability of these things reliably, especially not when I have all my eggs in one basket. Like, if I didn't have the Hue app still on my phone, then I wouldn't be able to control any of the lights in my house. I just wouldn't. So all in all, I don't trust my smart home. Implicitly. Like, I trust it to make my life a bit better, because when it doesn't, it's a shame, but it's not detrimental. What I am going to say is that I do have trust in the future. I have belief. I have truth. I believe in the ability. No, I do believe in the future, and I believe that with every update, Home Assistant gets better and better. If we look at where we were a year ago, there wasn't a UI to integrate devices. Half the devices weren't integratable. Lovelace was mediocre. Like, we're coming on leaps and bounds. I say we, it's definitely not me, I haven't done any of the work. But we're coming on leaps and bounds, and the future is bright. This has been a bit of a Slate Home Assistant. I don't mean it to be that, because everyone should be using it. It is fantastic. I just can't trust it. So there we go. A selection of my trust issues combined with a smart home video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button below and click the bell icon to find out more about my smart tech and how you can build yourself the ultimate smart home.